I think that if we had more men who were being educated about menstruation, menstrual education would not be as low as it is now. And I'll tell you why.
Hello everyone, and you're welcome again to Larian Consult. Today I'm very happy for my tummy. I'm so happy because I have, God, can you guys guess? I have one beautiful young lady here, my sister, the love of my life. Praise, you're welcome to Larian Consult. I'm so happy
so much. I'm so happy to be here.
You guys need to tear my tummy and feel the joy. Thank you so much, Praise. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So today on Larian Consult, we'll be discussing the topic, is menstrual period a big deal? Why should you care? So do you think it's a big deal? Are you one of those people that still just take it as, it's that time of the month, let it just come, let it just go, and then you don't pay attention to it? Then this video is for you. Don't go anywhere. You're going to learn a whole lot. So Praise, you know that there are some people who take the topic or the issue of menstruation as a taboo. They can't discuss it. Why do you think that is so?
I think that because menstruation is a very regular occurrence, people see it as an everyday thing, right? So for example, if you talk about eating, people just assume everybody eats, so what's the big deal in eating? And so we've sort of classified menstruation in that same category.
Even there are parents who they don't even tell their children anything about menstruation when they start. They feel like it's just there. And people, when you mention periods, they keep quiet, don't say anything about it.
Yes, there's a lot of hush around periods, and especially in our part of the world. So in Africa, in Nigeria, there are lots of people who just think, after all, your mother had her period, her grandmother had a period, why do you think your case is going to be different? And people feel like menstruation is something you should be able to learn on your own, right? So once you start bleeding, for example, they just expect, get a pad, wear a pad, whatever happens. There's no proper education around menstruation, and so it just becomes a secret, a well-kept secret. But I mean, if it's something that's happening as often as it happens, it's something that should be talked about as often as it also happens.
Very true. So how important do you think menstrual period is?
Menstrual periods are important for women, right? So I was having a conversation with someone, I don't remember who, maybe about a week ago, and the person was talking about how in men don't have menstruations, right? And so they have a lot of waste still kept in them, right? But for women, menstruation can be one of the ways we ease out some of those waste, apart from using the toilet, right? Menstruation is also, it's like a time stamp for women, right? So this month you didn't get pregnant. As a result of not getting pregnant, menstruation is what follows, right? So if you read the biology of menstruation, that an egg was supposed to have been ovulated. Because that didn't happen, people will say the body gets angry at you and decides to punish you with bleeding. But what happens is, because something should have happened and your body was ready for it, because that thing, which is pregnancy, didn't happen, your body has to go back to default setting. Your body, imagine preparing your room for a visitor. So you have a visitor coming to stay with you, you put new bed sheets, you put new duvet, maybe you even repaired your AC. And the visitor now calls you and says, I'm not coming again. No. You're going to remove that new bed sheet and you use your normal bed sheet. So your room is going back to default setting. Same thing with a woman's body. It has to go back to default setting and prepare again.
Wow. I hope you guys are learning. This session is going to be packed with so much wisdom that even me, I'm already feeling it. Yes, thank you so much, Praise.
Thank you.
What's your opinion about menstrual products? I mean, like pads and all of that. Do you think one brand or one product is better than the other?
I think I have my favorite, but I'm not going to shout out.
You're
not sponsoring our video. But I think, of course, menstrual products are important, right? You cannot properly menstruate if you don't have a menstrual product. So a woman who is menstruating and doesn't have access to pads, doesn't have access to a tampon, or in more recent times, you don't have period panties or even a menstrual cup, you cannot menstruate properly. Why? it means you're just bleeding. There's nothing holding the blood that's coming out. There's nothing that is keeping the smell away. There's nothing that's keeping just the stench of blood,
Yeah.
really. And so menstrual products are important. Now, another thing that is more important is picking the right menstrual product. Right. So I always advise for everybody who's just starting their periods, young girls, start with a pad. Right. Tampons are also good, but a lady who's just starting her period is still very young. She doesn't know a lot of things. Imagine trying to insert a tampon at 10 years old. See, you will definitely insert it wrongly. Even women in their 20s and 30s, sometimes they make mistakes, not to talk of a very young girl. So if you're going to just start your period, start with a pad. And then as you progress, start seeing what works for you. So I started with a certain type of pad when I first started my period. And then as I got older, I began to see that I started having rashes, right? So there was a lot of itching. When I finished my period, I feel like I'm ill around my vagina. I was just wondering what happened. I'm not the only one having a period. And then I realized that the type of pad I was using was not eco-friendly, you know. So what did I do? I started testing out other types of pads. The only thing I didn't test out was tampons because I was very scared of tampons. But I started testing out different types of pads until I found one that started working for me. And so in light of this, another thing I would say is learn to track your symptoms, right? So see what happens when you use a pad this month. So if I use a certain, let's call it pad B. If I use pad B in August, and at the end of my period, I saw that I had spots all over, or I had bumps, I'm going to try maybe pad P in September. And if I see that that doesn't happen, then I can stick to that. But keep testing, and of course, speak to other women, find out what works for
them.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow. So regardless of all of these things, these many information, we still find people who don't take like their menstrual products seriously at all. People still use tissue for period. What do you think about that, and how can we stop it? How can we sensitize, and is it possible?
It is. What I would start with is to say that period poverty is very real, right? So a lot of us have, if you're watching this video, you most likely have a certain level of privilege, right? So you have access to pads. When I started my period, my mom had pads in the room. I didn't have to go outside and ask somebody, can I have a pad? I had at home. But for a number of girls and women, they don't have access to that. And they have to hold the blood in anyway, you know. So you have women who use rags, for example.
True.
And what do? They just wash it. Some of them don't even use disinfectant to wash it. Where are they going to buy disinfectant? So if you look at the poverty scale of a country or a region, it's going to also be seen in the period poverty. So when you see women using tissue, it's not just a lack of education, it's a lack of proper funding. If you've ever used tissue for your period, you would never want to use it again. So I don't believe that there's anybody who's using tissue because that's what they prefer. It's because that is what is available. It doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it good. It is certainly unhygienic, but it is what is available for them. And so I think that the conversation we need to start having is how can we make period products more available for even women in, you know, the poorest of regions or the poorest of countries. Because you see women who can buy pads for months, right? So in my business, my period care business, I have men who come and order period boxes for maybe their wives or girlfriends or sisters, and they order for 3-4 months at a go.
Wow.
Those women have access to period products for 4 months at a go. Meanwhile, there are women who have never had a pad.
True.
Right. So what we need to do is how can we make period products more available or cheaper for women to be able to use.
Thank you so much, Praise. So if you are wondering why Praise has so much information and why she is the best fit for this, it's because she's the creator of Yada's Box. So Yada's Box is a period subscription package where you subscribe to our packages and then you get, you know, your products every month or however you want it. But let's not go too deep into that. After this whole session, we have something for you guys. So Praise, what motivated you? What was your motivation to start Yada's Box? What was it? How did it even come?
How did it come? I'll say that it was divine. You know, I don't think I'd ever thought of doing a period box before. It also wasn't something that was common around me. At the time, I started September 2020.
Wow.
And at the time, there weren't any other people actively selling period boxes in Nigeria. But one thing that helps me to say this is probably a good idea was because of my menstrual circumstance. So since I started my period, I've always had really painful periods, and I didn't get properly diagnosed until my second or third year in university.
Wow.
And for context, I started my period at 10, and I didn't get diagnosed until what, 17? you know. But one thing that was common to me was I wanted to be able to look forward to my period without fear. So every month that came, I would carry my calendar and think, so the third week of this month now,
it's going to be another episode of drama.
Hellish period.
True.
It was very upsetting, and aside from being upsetting, it was saddening for me. And I just thought that if I'm going through this, then there are definitely other
More
women
people
who are going through this, because I believe that it's not normal to find only one person that's going through something. If you're going through something, there's definitely somebody else who is going through it or has gone through it. So I decided if other women want this, then I can do something for them as well. And so I started Yada's Box. Thankfully, over the years, it's going to be 2 years this September.
The glory of God.
And over the years, I've learned more things. I've seen what women prefer to have and just the gaps that need to be filled in terms of menstrual education.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you think men should care about periods too? I mean, they're not the ones menstruating, so
but your mommy, your auntie, your sister, your friend, your wife, they're menstruating, care about it. In fact, I think that if we had more men who were being educated about menstruation, menstrual education will not be as low as it is now. And I'll tell you why. So there's a household of 5, right? You have the father, you have the mother, you have 2 girls and 1 boy. And then only the mom knows about menstruation in the house. And so her children, her female children, start menstruating. And maybe one day she's at work, and it's only the father and the brother that are home. And the girls need pads. They are young girls. Remember, on average now, UNICEF says that the average girl is starting their period at about 10 to 12 years.
Sure.
Meanwhile, in the 90s and the 80s, it was about 16,
yes,
17,
yes.
You know, so every year the age is reducing. And so you have girls aged 10 and 12 who need to buy a pad. They need to get maybe a pain relief. They need to get something for their period, and their daddy doesn't know what to do. Their brother as well doesn't know what to do. So because mommy, who is the woman in the house, is not around, those girls are going to suffer over menstrual periods. I mean, it shouldn't be. I feel like another reason apart from care is to show that you are involved. Menstruation is a normal, healthy process. In fact, the men who don't want to care about menstruation are almost products of menstruation.
Yes.
You know, because if you don't see a period, then you're pregnant.
Very
most
true.
times.
Very true.
That's the general agreement, right? So when we say, oh, she missed her period, the first thing that comes to your head is pregnancy. So you're a result of a missed period, and you don't want to care about it.
She said you're a result of a missed period.
No, they're all result of missed period.
True.
Somebody's mommy didn't see her period, got pregnant, and gave birth to us, and you don't want to care about it. It's important because sometimes the women who are menstruating cannot take care of themselves. So someone like me who used to have really terrible endometriosis, I'm unable to do anything. I'm as good as immobile, right? So I remember cases where maybe my mom wasn't available to do something. My dad would have to come and pick me from school. In fact, there's a very funny story. Everyone in my secondary school remembers that story. I had really bad cramps on this particular day. They rushed me to the clinic. And you know, the nurse gave me medication, told me to lie down, gave me food to eat, but she didn't realize she was dealing with endometriosis. She thought it was just normal. Somebody's having cramps. She doesn't want to go to class, so she gave me, I think it was paracetamol, very normal, and put me to sleep and left. And she came back maybe 30-45 minutes later and saw that my case was still really bad, and she said, you know what, please go to your daddy's house. Let me call your parents for you. So she went to the school administrative block to call my parents. My mom wasn't around, so they called my dad to come and pick me from school. And when my dad came, I couldn't walk. You know, the pain was so bad, I couldn't walk. So they came to pick me up from the clinic, and they found me under the bed.
Whoa.
I had rolled and rolled and rolled and
Whoa.
rolled under the bed, right? But because my dad had been involved in it,
Involved.
and of course my mom had told him, this is it, this is it,
Hmm.
this is what is happening, he was able to say, okay, let's go home. These are the kind of drugs she would normally take. This is what she would normally eat. So imagine he didn't know anything that was happening. And this also leads back to the secrecy around menstruation, right? You hear stories like, if you're on your period, nobody should know.
Nobody should
Why?
know.
Right? Why shouldn't anybody? Me, if nobody knows, I'm in trouble.
You even find young ones who don't want to put pads in their bags because no, I don't want someone to say I'm
In fact,
carrying
this is
pad.
something I have become intentional about. Everywhere I go, I have at least one pad in my bag, whether I'm menstruating or not. If I'm menstruating, in fact, anybody else who is menstruating is lucky. I have at least a pack of pads in my bag. So in church, people come and meet me and say, pad girl, pad girl, I want pad. You know, it's okay. Nobody's saying carry a microphone and announce it. I'm not one to say, oh, call your entire family and say I'm on my period. Don't do that, right? But don't
be ashamed of that reality.
Yes, periods are normal. There's nothing abnormal about periods. In fact, it's when your periods are irregular, you're not seeing it, that we think there's an abnormality. So don't be ashamed to say I'm on my period. If someone says, for example, people would or doctors would normally say don't take a lot of alcohol on your period. So for people who take alcohol, and you're in a gathering of people like that, and they say, why are you not taking alcohol? It's okay to say, oh, I don't want. But if this is your friend, it's also okay to say, I'm on my period. You know, I go out with some of my best friends sometimes, and they say, oh, I want to buy you a sweet drink. It's a regular mocktail, but I say, oh, I can't have that, I'm on my period. It's okay. If you're someone like me who also has a lot of cramps, you need to have somebody you trust that knows you're on your period. Something that saved me while I was in university was that I used to tell people I was on my period, my friends. Again, don't just go and meet somebody,
I'm on my period.
But have somebody who you trust and you can say, oh, if I begin to look a bit dizzy, because I used to have, I'll go and pale, you know, pale, very pale in my face, and someone will be saying, oh, what's wrong with you? They'll think I'm tired, but no, I was losing blood, and I needed someone to be able to say, this girl needs to go and eat, she needs to take something. So I'll tell someone and say, my period is starting. If I begin to look funny, can you look out for me? Right? We need to start looking out for girls on their periods the way we would look out for somebody who is naturally sick. Right?
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope you are learning as much as you can from this session. So there are people who, you know, on every period or during some periods they get stained. It is kind of normal, you know, to get stained. But when people get stained, they feel like their whole world has crumbled and they want to just kill themselves. You know, how do we avoid getting stained, and how do you put yourself together when you are stained?
Okay. I want to start by saying that getting stained is normal, right? If we have 5 girls, 4 out of 5 girls have been stained on their periods. It's normal. Can it be avoided? Definitely. Should you try and avoid it? Absolutely, right? It's because getting stained is normal doesn't mean you should always go around being stained. So what are a few things you can do? Usually the most common form of stain you see during periods is that somebody didn't realize her period was starting. You know, and so she was outside one day, she was wearing a beautiful white dress, and next thing you know,
it will always be white.
It will always be white.
It's always white.
It's always
or
white.
Yellow.
Or your favorite underwear.
I'm telling you.
It's something bright that everybody can see from 5 miles away. It can be very painful. But what can you do to avoid it? Track your periods, right? There are a lot of period tracking apps now. So if you use a smartphone and you're a woman, or even you're a man, you're married, you have somebody you care about as a woman, please track your periods, track the person's period. Usually, and now this is on average, menstrual cycles have a 28-day cycle. You know, so every 28 days you menstruate. There are few people who don't have that normal cycle, and of course there are people who don't see their periods every month, right? So know what your own body system is and start to track it. The first time I learned to track my period, I must have been in GS1.
Whoa!
I had a lovely computer teacher in secondary school, and she called a couple of us. I went to an all-girls school, so she called a couple of us one break time and said, sit down, bring out a pen, bring out a paper, write the calendar, and let me teach you how to track your periods. And then as I got older, when I got my phone, one of the first things I did was to download a tracking app. What you do when you download a tracking app is, for August, note your period. So you start your period on the 10th of August, write it.
Mm.
You finish on the 15th of August, that's a regular period, 5 days, write it, right? And then check again in September. You start again maybe on the 9th of September, you finish on the 14th of September. You begin to see that your period comes around the same time. Even for people who have irregular periods, sometimes you can see when it will come. So I have a friend who has PCOS, and sometimes she sees her period, the month she sees her period usually comes the third week. She doesn't see her period monthly, but the month she sees it, she's sure that it's third week. So towards the third week of every month, she has pads in her bag, right? So once you know when your period is likely to come, please carry a pad with you. And again, this goes back to us saying, don't be afraid to have pads with you. If you're afraid to have pads with you, when your period starts unexpectedly, you're going to be stained. Aside from that, change your pad regularly. Same thing for tampons and menstrual cups. Change your cups, change your tampons regularly. Now, adverts will say you can wear a pad 8 hours. Some of us can't wear a pad 8 hours. Even if you bleed sparsely, your blood is not coming out plenty. Still try to change maybe 4 hours as much as possible. Of course, maybe if you're working, you're in school, you may not be able to, but don't wait 8 hours to change your period. Most times you see that you begin to smell.
True.
You're not even comfortable with it. So change your pad, your tampon every 4 to 5 hours. Once you do it like that and you wash properly, you clean up properly, the chances of being stained will reduce.
Very low.
Now, if you know that you have a higher cycle or a heavier cycle rather, you know that you can't change every 4 hours. Change your pads every 2 hours. Even if you feel like you may be stained a little, better to be sure than you now see that you're not stained. So go to the restroom and just check, am I okay? That's fine. Again, if you're with your girlfriends or with somebody you trust, the way we do it in school, you turn around.
Check before I stand up.
Before I stand up, can you check, am I stained? So also do that. And something I also try to do when I'm on my period is I carry an extra piece of clothing. It's not always possible, it's not always comfortable, but even if it's a shawl, so carry a shawl with you. In the eventuality that you're stained, you can wrap it around you very nice.
Wow, thank you so much, Praise. Thank you so much. During the course of this conversation, something popped in my mind, and that is some people have irregular flow. That is, you menstruate twice in a month. Is it abnormal?
I don't want to give a concrete yes or no. It happened to me for a while. I had maybe almost a year and I was menstruating twice a month. The first thing to know is that it's very uncomfortable. And it's not always healthy, right? I say not always because you may find out that nothing is wrong, right? But it's not always healthy. What happens is by the time you're bleeding so often, you're losing more nutrients, you're getting paler, you're getting weaker, especially if your flows are heavy. So what I would advise is to see a gynecologist. Find out if there's something that's wrong. One of the things that helped me was I saw a gynecologist. They placed me on a particular medication. It helps to reduce my flow. But please see a gynecologist. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor and say, I'm seeing my period twice a month. Is that normal? Right? Please say. There's a story in the Bible of the woman with the issue of blood. If we're going to relate it to modern day menstruation, she was bleeding every day, 12 years. And I'm sure that it didn't just start out like that. She first saw it for 2 months at a go. And someone said maybe it just happened. And then she sees it 6 months, 12 months. And before you know, it's 12 years. So don't wait until you've already done 6 months. If you see it twice 1 month, mark it. Again, keep track. You see it again the second month, see a doctor. Don't wait for the third month to say something is wrong. It may just be that one of your hormones, something is off somewhere. They need to give you a certain nutrient. But see a doctor.
Thank you so much, Praise. If you haven't learned anything from what she has said earlier, you should have learned that you should learn to speak up and don't keep things from your doctor. Don't a closed mouth, they say, is a closed destiny. So speak out and then you can get help. Yes. What is one thing that you wish you knew before you started your menstrual period? But before you answer, we would like to get the opinions of other people, so we'll be right back. What is one thing that you wish you knew before you started your menstrual period? Okay.
Before I started, what I wished I knew. Anyway, before then, I didn't know anything about it. It just caught me unawares.
When I saw my period, I was scared because I didn't know what it is.
And as young as I was, I just took my panties to my mom to show her. Mom, see what I saw over the night. And she was like, she just told me, took me back home and told me that you're now a woman. She never told me before then. I wish I knew.
I had to rush to my dad and whisper to his ear. I saw blood. And my dad said, where? I went close to his ear, I said, my mom. And he smiled and said, go and meet your mom.
What if it had caught me right in the middle of my classes in school? At that time, I was still young and still in primary school. I would have been embarrassed.
If I had known earlier that I am supposed to change my sanitary pads between 4 to 8 hours before I started menstruating, I think I would have taken my menstrual hygiene more seriously. Yeah.
I think say okay, the menstrual pain. Okay, yes, that one because it's always tiring. Because sometimes, especially okay when I want to start, I'm always weak. Okay.
So you wish you knew that all of those things came with it?
Yes.
So I just implore parents, especially mothers, to please let our girls know what they may be hearing: menstrual pains, hearing menstruation, but they will not know how practical the thing is. They should make it practical, as in let them know when you have it, this is what you use. Buy it, show them this is how to use it, even when it has not come to that time, so that when they eventually see it, they wouldn't even need to run to anyone to show anybody. Because to me, even till now, I feel that thing is sacred somehow. That even when you are doing it, people should not know. To me, people should not know that you're having it. No stain, nothing, no bulge,
Educate them on what growing up is, their period, what they will see, how they should handle themselves, how neat they should be during their seeing their period.
I wish I was told the pros and cons of menstruation, because at times the contractions are something you don't really want to at least think of, because it gets your hormones, and at times it can just trigger you off your balance. Like the day can be messy at times if not taken care of.
First, I think everybody who spoke said the same things I would say. Um, but I'm thankful that I had some idea of menstruation before I started my period. Something I wish I knew. I wish I knew how bad the cramps could be. For a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. Yeah, and it can be very embarrassing and painful. I went to an all-girls school, and so I'd seen other girls have their own period. It was nothing compared to mine. And even today, today when people talk about their period experiences, it's very rare to find somebody who's gone through what I've gone through. And I say gone through because by the grace of God, it's not as bad as the difference is very clear, but it took a lot of years to learn how to handle it. I don't think I've mentioned that my first few years of my period, I used to be admitted.
Wow.
They used to put me on drip in the hospital. And I always tell people that for a long time, I planned my life around my period, right? These days, I don't talk about how bad it was because I'm better now and I'm more interested in helping other people have happier periods. But I wish somebody, I don't want to say that I wish somebody had it in my family because it's not something to wish for. But I just wish there was that education that this thing can get this bad, I think it was my graduation party in 2020. Yeah, so we had it on a Saturday. Lovely time, had a wonderful time. Somebody had brought me a box of donuts, very sweet. I ate. I ate, forgetting
you did
that
not know
Antiflo was on the way.
It was on the way.
I didn't know. So at the end of the party and celebration, it was around maybe 8, 9 p.m. My cousins were just leaving and one of my friends And then I just started feeling sharp pains. I
Hmm.
said, oh, she don't come again. I just said, okay, this is definitely my period. It was one of the worst periods of my life. By the next morning, my mom had to rush me to a hospital in Ejibo, one of their friends' hospital. My dad had to leave church, come and meet us there. And I think that day I took about 5 or 6
Hmm.
trips. You know, I also wish that more people knew that pain is a normal thing.
Hmm.
Normal in the sense that it happens. See, till today, people can't exactly say what causes dysmenorrhea, right? People can't exactly say what causes PCOS, endometriosis, and all those other things. But they know that these things happen. I wish that more people were aware of how to deal with it more than go and get married.
Hmm.
So in university, they would rush me to the hospital. There was an incident, they rushed me to the hospital at about 3 a.m. And after they gave me injections and stabilized me a bit, the nurse looked at me and said, how old are you? I was in 300 level. I was in 300 level this occasion. And so I must have been maybe 18 or something. So I told him, he said, okay, what level are you? And I told him I'm in 300. He said, good. So you'll finish like next year. Once you finish, do you have boyfriend? Go and marry and give birth. It was such an insensitive thing to say.
Hmm.
Because this is somebody 18 is young.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
forget that we're in a grown-up world now and everybody is a big girl and a
Yes.
big boy. 18 is still very young.
Hmm.
At 18, you've not even done half of your menstrual cycles.
You haven't.
You're just getting started.
You haven't.
In the 90s, people were just starting at 16, 17, 18.
True.
So we're just getting started.
Hmm.
And so to tell me that the solution to the pain is to go and marry, I was very upset. In my pain, I told my friend, please, can you tell them to get an ambulance? Let's go and sleep. This person cannot do anything for me. So I wish I knew, and I wish more people knew that.
Wow. Praise, do you think pupils in primary school should be educated about
Yes.
period before they get to secondary school?
I started in primary 5. I was 10.
Hmm.
I was 10 when I started, and I was in primary 5. So yeah, they should be educated. Yada's Box just launched a new product maybe about a month ago or so. Okay, no, it's not up to a month, a few weeks ago. And it's an educative learning resource. And every time I get the opportunity to speak to people about it, I always tell them, look, if you have a daughter in primary school, get it for her. Let her start learning. Aside from the fact that the ages to start periods have reduced, children are sharper than what they used to be.
Yes.
And I think this is something a lot of parents and guardians don't want to accept.
They don't want to.
I understand the place of shielding your child from certain things, but not from menstruation. If you don't tell her, she's going to learn outside.
Yes.
And I had a lot of friends who learned about menstruation from us.
Yeah.
They learned it from friends. I was talking to somebody through my business, and she was saying she was buying a box for her daughter, a period care box. And she was saying that the reason she's buying a box for her daughter is because it was a friend in school that taught her how to wear a pouch. So she wants to teach her daughter how to wear it and what needs to be done on her period. So please, once your child is 8, 10, and they're understanding things, start using style to teach them about it. Yeah. But once they are 10, teach them everything. And don't just tell them, now once you start your period, if a boy touches you,
you get pregnant.
Don't do that. Don't do that, because there's a real life story of a girl who, normal now, that's how they taught a lot of us. If a boy touches you, you get pregnant. And so an older relative told her that, but I'm not touching you now, I'm just putting something inside. And that's how he got the girl pregnant. He raped her and got her pregnant. And she has the child today. She's doing okay, thank God. But there was an interview with herself and her mother, and she told her mom, I wish you were more open with me and you had actually told me. So don't be afraid, as a mother, as an older relative, a female guardian, don't be afraid to tell children about these things. And schools can also help. Introduce menstrual education into your curriculum. And I don't mean basic science. Don't just gloss over it, right? So today you have girl guides in school. One girl guide session, you can easily teach your female students about it. In fact, put the boys there too. Let them learn what menstruation is, so that by the time their sisters are having it, they know what to do.
Wow, thank you very much, Praise. Thank you so much. I want to encourage everyone again that you should appreciate your parents. For those who have supportive parents, it is not,
Yeah.
it's not beans.
It's not easy.
Yes, so please appreciate your parents, your moms, your dad, as much as you can. Yes. And also, lastly, Praise, what do you think about schools? Now, schools have a large role to play in the issue of, periods and all of that. Many schools don't have healthcare boxes. They don't have. You are in school, you are getting stained, and they are giving you tissue that just go and use it to pad yourself up. There's no pad. I mean, do you think it should continue that way?
No, we need to change things, please. When I was in secondary school, we used to have pad companies come and talk to us, and what they used to do is they used to share one pack of pad. Now that's fantastic, but that's not sustainable. So what schools need to do is, as opposed to just bringing these people to talk to your students, partner with them such that every month you have a refill of period products, right? And that's something I always tell school owners, administrators, people I get to speak with. I was at Dancehall Primary School last month, and I was speaking to a parent, and she just said, look, I want to get your products because I don't think that if my daughter should start her period, she would know what to do, right? Her daughter wasn't in that school, but her son was. And she was saying that if not for the kind of school her son is in, she won't know that these things are possible. And so if the administrator at Dancehall had not allowed us come in and speak with parents, some parents might never know. So you have direct access to parents, you have direct access to students. You are actually the real meaning of middleman. You are between the parents and their children.
True.
And for schools that have boarding houses, children are with you almost longer than they're with their parents. Think about it.
Yes.
So parents only have short holidays and then that long vacation, I think July, August, to teach their children. But you have 4 months at a stretch to teach children about these things. So have menstrual education in your curriculum, have pad boxes. Every female student in your school should be able to go to the clinic and say, I just started my period, can I have a pad? I just started my period and I'm having cramps. Can I have paracetamol? Can I rest for a bit? And it should be done without judgment.
Yes.
There are teachers who tell girls that you are lying.
Yes.
You don't want
to attend class.
I had a teacher who told me that because you don't want to write for them. She said, I know you're not good in maths, which was true. I wasn't good in math, but I also wasn't using my period to run from math until I fell in class. The pain was so much, I fell. And we're writing for the math exam. Did I write the exam? Am I not a graduate? So what if it had been more than that? So we need to, as we're teaching the girls, teach your teachers as well. Teach your employees. Let them know what they should do in cases like that. Be the ones that students can actually run to and say, because of my school, because of my teacher, I am a better woman today.
Thank you so much, Praise. I wish we could go on and on and on, but you can't learn everything here today. So we're going to display Praise's handles here. Please follow her. Please send her a DM. She's very, very approachable. You can get as much as you want from her. And also, please don't forget to follow Larian Consult on all social media handles. Before we go, you know how we do it. On Larian Consult, we advertise a brand per show. And let me put it out here that if you want to advertise your brand, your business, please feel free to send us a DM and we're going to give you guys a shout out. So today, we are advertising our very own Praise, like I said earlier, is the creator of Yada's box. You can see the information here. She creates period packages, amazing ideas, fantastic ideas, and she recently launched a product, like she said earlier, a game pack for ladies and for guys also. You have learned today that it's not just for ladies. So
learn about the period.
Yes, so you have cards that will give you every information you would ever imagine that you can, have access to. So please patronize her and don't disappoint me. Thank you very much again for joining Larian today, and we hope to see you next time. See ya. Bye.